It's got 4 decal edges, which are nice and pretty, a slight little ruffle on them. This is mold made paper, so 2 of the edges are more roughly than the others, but they pour the paper in a a big screen, and it's pressed. This is cold press. What that means is the rollers that press it are cold, so you get a texture. Hot pressed paper is very slick because the rollers are hot, flattens it out, and you would use that more for very exacting painting. I like the tooth of this. And then there's rough, which is, you've got hot press, really smooth, cold press is in the middle, and rough is extra texturized. But I like the cold press. This is a full sheet. I do not soak it or any of that stuff beforehand. I've got some clips because it's so windy today, and I do have some little masking paper. I've had this rolled up for a year and at the castle, and it's I've been working on getting it to flatten out. Okay, I was going to show you this too. Let's see, a little bag of stuff. These are kind of erasers I like because they disintegrate and they don't leave a residue on your it's a gum eraser. You know, when you were a kid, you would stick your pencil in there and it would make grit and come apart. Because the kneaded erasers pick up graphite, but it also grinds it into the paper and gets very greasy. So that little bug that I just shouldn't have done on here, he's permanently on there, but that's okay. All right, so I'm just going to get started and setting yourself up to paint. Make it as easy on yourself as possible. Make sure you are orienting your painting surface, your painting spot, and your body towards what you're painting, not having to turn. If you're right-handed, everything's on the right. If you're left-handed, get it over on the left. Consistency in your setup will help you. We're going to talk about this more later. Consistency in your palette will help you, and having your rags or Kleenex or whatever paper towels. I always have a bunch of them in these. I like an apron because watercolor, some of them do really permanently stain your clothes. Not all of them, but certain colors. So don't put it in your mouth. Don't put it, don't think you can just slop it all over yourself and it's going to come out of your nice white shirt, because it won't. All right. So this is how I like to set up. I have this, this is an old palette, but it's a metal palette that's white inside. Okay, it's got a big, nice mixing area, and it's a little, I've been painting in it, so it's a little bit messy. I'm going to clean it up just a little, but all that paint, I'll leave that because I don't want to waste the paint, and I'll just dip into that maybe as I go if I want to. But I'll just get this up with a nice just paper towel or napkin I picked up at the restaurant, I think.
How long have you had this one?
I've had this a long time. I have a new one just like it at home, but it doesn't bother me that it's old. It's fine, because some of this paint has been in here, and I just keep squirting on top. So the paint does not, sometimes every now and then I've gotten mold on my paint, and actually you just wet it down and get it off and wipe it up, and it's still fine. Watercolor is great because it's expensive to get started, but it does not persist regularly on high expense. You have to buy paint, of course, but it's not as frequently as oil painting or acrylic paint. And it does, even if it dries up in the tube, you could cut the tube open and put a chunk in here and spray it, or dip, just drip water on it until it softens up. Okay?
What's the paint made of?
These are different pigments. Some of them are actual minerals, earth pigments. They're from rocks, they're from minerals that they grind up. Some of them are synthetics, and I don't know how they do that. and some of them, a lot of them are named cobalt, this and that, so that's you know, it's a toxic mineral or that you don't want to put in your mouth. That we're not slathering it all over ourselves. You just have to use common sense. So, okay, what I'm going to paint today is this scene I like, and I love the fact that it's got everything. It's got a way to frame the painting naturally with part of this arbor, so it makes it intimate. It contains the painting in a very beautiful curvy way. You've got a pathway, so to speak, or an alleyway here that pulls your eye out. You've got the focal point of the huge wisteria, which is it's a special subject. It's got the great facade of the building that is a big shape that counterbalances all this fluffy flower stuff. You've got in the distance the blue mountains, which are a great complementary color to the yellow of the house. It's just a ready-made composition, and I love chairs, so I like that as far as just my thing I like to paint. I think that's just makes you want to be there. So a lot of painting, and this is a lot to take in on the very first thing I'm talking about, but a huge amount of painting is figuring out what you want to paint. And today you could paint anything you want. I'm not saying you need to know this immediately, but as you progress, if you continue to paint, a lot of it's what do you want to paint? Why do you want to paint it? And then after that, even beyond and girding up all of that, is how are you going to paint it, and figuring out the design of your painting, the composition of your painting. And that might even be moving yourself over a few inches and saying, well, where am I going to stand? What gives me the best of everything? So, all right, I painted this several times and I love it. So I'm going to start off with I like to start usually with a big brush. I'll probably paint most of this painting with a pretty big brush. And